It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. It is Thursday. Later than Thursday, it's Friday. Yesterday was Thursday. It's July 26th. I'm so excited that it's Friday that I thought it was Thursday for a minute. Wow, it's Friday morning. And, nothing really more important than getting the day off on the right foot. Here is your top 5 at 6. The top things you need to know to start up your day. Well, as I mentioned, it's not Thursday, it's Friday, which means tonight we're going to Stillwater, ladies and gentlemen.
Wait, what? Yeah.
The KQ Rock the 80s boat is happening tonight. Stillwater Riverboats, Stillwater, Minnesota. I'm going to be there. You're going to be there. We're all going to be there. We're all going to be having a good time.
My dad's going to be there.
What the hell?
Oh, come on. Really?
Yes, I'm stoked.
I'm stoked as well. If you're stoked, I'm stoked. Yeah. That'll be great. Any chance your dad's going to sit in with the band?
I don't think he can actually sing. He's like the one member of the family that can carry a tune.
Well, let's get him
Any
up there.
chance that he's going to be all decked out in 80s gear?
He might be wearing clothes that he owned in the 80s, but I don't know if you're going to be able to spot him as 80s gear.
I'm picturing
a skipper
Don Johnson. Yeah, no, I'm picturing Don Johnson, white linen suit, pastel shirt, maybe something salmon.
He didn't even wear a suit to my weddings. I don't think we're seeing him in a suit tonight.
He's the kind of guy who just gets up and puts on clothes, and you go, "Are you going to an 80s party?" And he goes, "What are you talking about?" Number 4 on your top 5 at 6. Globally speaking, this is truly a worldwide problem. Champagne sales are slumping, and champagne distributors and producers are saying it's because there's a simple lack of celebration and joy in the world.
I don't know what the hell they're talking about.
Give out some raises and we'll celebrate with some champagne.
Yeah, champagne is linked, of course, with celebration and happiness, and the people who are running the champagne racket are saying it just seems like there's geopolitical and macroeconomic issues. But okay, when you say the words geopolitical and macroeconomic, lower your prices.
Now I want to hit him over the head with a champagne bottle.
Well, yeah. You know what? One thing we could do is we could just let's have some champagne tonight on the boat. Let's go crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, let's do the thing where we throw the champagne bottle against the boat. I'm sure it's been christened, but it probably do.
It hasn't been christened as the KQ Cruiser. Let's give that bad boy a new name and champagne ourselves right into oblivion, huh?
Yeah.
Number 3 on your top 5 at 6. Delta Airlines is apparently, quote, back to normal. After almost a full week of complete a complete grease fire within the airline industry, Delta, the final holdout on getting their crap together, says as of yesterday they were back up to normal. About 6,000-ish flight cancellations.
Yeah.
That is so many people in so many airports.
See, here, I think Delta could probably take a lesson from our parent company, Cumulus Broadcasting, and never upgrade your software ever.
Yeah.
Just keep those old, boat anchor computers running, keep them plugged in and let them run. What are we running here? Windows 4?
Yes.
Yeah, and for the that just explains something, because this morning on the way in, I saw like 6 people with suitcases in the hallway, and I was like, "Oh, they're okay." Yeah,
they've been stranded here. Those are interns from 2004.
Yeah, they definitely had an early internet vibe to everything about the way they were going about their business. Number 2 on the top 5 at 6. Not that anybody cares about the San Diego Padres, but good God, there's a pitcher for that team named Dylan Cease.
Yeah.
He threw a no-no yesterday. And that's fantastic. I mean, a no-hitter, anytime you get one, you want to get excited about it. But check this out. This was his 6th start this season of at least 6 innings with 1 or fewer hits.
Oh, yeah. No,
he's on a tear.
Yeah, he's a monster. Here's what it sounded like.
Abrams to right, but it's hanging up. And Dylan Cease gets the no-hitter.
I guess that was it.
He leads the majors in strikeouts. Batters are hitting 191 against him. He is now in the midst of one of the best 3 consecutive starts ever in the modern era, certainly. This is now in the old days, you didn't have a bullpen. I mean, if you go back 100 years, you just threw the whole game regardless. There was no such thing as a pitch count.
Oh yeah.
But for the modern era, this kid is kind of a throwback. His last 3 starts, statistically speaking, I'm not going to bore you with the numbers. They are as good as any 3 consecutive start stretch in the last 60 years. So Dylan Cease, whoever the hell you are, nice job, kid. And then finally, the number one thing on our list, top 5 and 6, the Summer Olympics have begun. The opening ceremonies will go down today, but events are already going. And a lot of Minnesotans out there competing. Sarah Bacon, University of Minnesota, diving. She's doing the 3-meter springboard and the 3-meter synchronized.
Wow.
I always forget they do synchronized diving.
Yeah, that's nuts.
A couple people going off together. You've got, let's see, of course, the Ant-Man, Anthony Edwards, playing basketball. Doubt he's in Olympic housing.
Yeah,
Do you think he's in the Olympic Village?
I
doubt it. Do you think he's coming home with a bunch of brightly colored condom packages?
I don't count basketball and professional athletes.
Yeah.
Remember the Dream Team? That was fun, and then it was over.
Yeah.
And then I could have cared less about professional athletes competing in the Olympics.
I was in Minneapolis for the first Dream Team game of the '92 Barcelona Olympics.
Yeah.
I was at a hotel bar on the road. We started our tour here, and I remember watching highlights of one of the games after a gig at the bar, and I was just looking at it going, well, we're beating someone by like 400 points. This is not the... screw it. This is awesome. And I just loved every minute of it.
It was like the NBA All-Star game if they weren't playing against anyone.
Yeah, well,
It was
pretty
just
much.
like an NBA All-Star practice.
My money is on Laura Dahlman-Weiss from Shoreview. She's in the mixed dinghy 470 sailing competition, and let me tell you something. This kid's special.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no, I've been on the Laura Dahlman-Weiss bandwagon for 17 seconds now. So bring back the gold. We've got a lot of Minnesotans competing. It's always worth tuning into the Olympics if for nothing else to see what sort of local heroes we're all going to get to know over the next couple of weeks.
opening ceremonies in the noon hour on NBC.
Is that? Yeah, well, I guess that would make sense. It would be that early.
12:30. I think it's started.
Let's see what else we got. We've got a lot of things going on around here today, including band or not a band. Hang tight.
Big movie reviews, the latest news on rock stars, celebrities, and world-class athletes, and plenty of juicy love nuggets, too. We're heading west for Mike Evans' Hollywood Report on the KQ Morning Show.
Hey, good morning, Minneapolis, St. Paul. Good morning, Steve. Good morning, Zeb. Good morning, Tony. Good morning, everybody, on this Aloha Friday, Movie Review Friday, and it is Deadpool and Wolverine. Exciting, thrilling, hilarious, incredible special effects. Very fast-paced, never a dull moment, has a lot of heart, and there's also a sense of urgency that can be felt throughout. To me, the most surprising nugget is the many laugh-out-loud moments and the many, many F-bombs that are in it. Maybe that's why it's rated R. Marvel and Disney did a solid job, though. Rated R, 2 hours long, 3.5 stars. And while everybody is talking about Deadpool, don't forget Twisters and, for the kids, Despicable Me are still playing. The Olympics kick off tonight, and if you don't mind, please allow me, I want to share a couple of personal Olympic nuggets. One of the highlights of my long and blessed career came in 1984 when I was doing mornings at K-Rock in Los Angeles. Every other Friday afternoon, I would take my cast and crew to one of the huge Red Onion restaurants. Steve, you've been to them. They hold hundreds of people. For my very popular, the Finally a Friday Aloha Party. I mean, people would wait in line for hours to get a seat. It was always packed. We played the dating game and Let's Make a Deal and the newlywed game. The fabulous K-Rock Bikini Girls were there. I had barbers up on stage cutting people's hair and a masseuse giving massages. I mean, it was a party. Well, a couple of months before the 1984 LA Olympics, my general manager at the station, Mike Brandt, called me in, and sitting in his office was Peter Uberoth, the chairman of the 1984 Olympic Games. Mr. Uberoth had apparently been to one of the Finally a Friday Aloha parties at one of the Red Onions and wanted me to do my big parties every night in the Olympic villages for the athletes. Every night after they did their bit, and then they came back to the villages. In return, I had VIP passes and went to all the events. It was unbelievable, meeting all of the athletes from around the world and being in the villages. It was incredible 10 days. On a not-so-happy Olympic nugget, I was also at the 1996 Atlanta Games in the park when the bomb went off. 2 killed, many injured. Luckily, I was fine. Well, thanks for letting me share, and for return, a little song. It's Aloha Friday, don't work till Monday. We're gonna play today. Aloha for me, Lee, Kalicamaka, Howley Maka, Hiki Ho, Lily Yokalani, Lani Ani Oke, Laku, and a cock and a akan, hooey, 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 ho.
The Mike Evans Hollywood Report, weekdays on the KQ Morning Show. It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS. Zep, Tony, and Steve Gorman are the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the
laughing.
KQ Morning Show. That was Dean Delray, who is at Acme Comedy Club this weekend. He's got 2 shows tonight, 2 shows tomorrow night. He's going to be here in the studio at 9:25. I went down to Acme last night and saw Dean set, and he's great. You can do a lot worse. 4 shows over the next 2 nights. If you've never seen Dean, just take my word for it. You're going to have a great time.
Yeah, I love that clip right there. It's funny because it's true.
It's absolutely true.
Well, I really think we should use a condom. I mean, that's what everybody tells me. That's what they say in the PSAs. Oh no, I'm clean. I don't have anything. Okay, well, we're both drunk, and I believe you, and I've never seen you before. So it's quickly how quickly we discard our safety.
It's pretty shocking. We've all had those moments back in the day.
All right.
The salad days.
I don't have one anyway.
Yeah, really. Well, if I don't have it, I'll never have to use it. Oh, my God.
I don't wear a raincoat in the shower.
The things we talk ourselves into. So, okay, here's the deal. I mentioned, I referenced the cocaine sharks. We talked about this earlier in the week. Cocaine sharks testing positive for high levels of cocaine off the coast of Brazil. The Florida Panhandle, series of shark attacks this summer already. On the Atlantic coast of Florida, also shark attacks. Great white 20-footers off the coast of New England.
Right.
I mean, every day there's a shark story.
Yeah.
Haven't seen a lot about hammerheads, but because they tend to be out in the deeper waters. They don't mess with people that often.
I do know for some reason, I don't know why I know this, probably watching one of those nature shows, trying to grab a nap in the afternoon, that hammerheads do a migration down the East Coast in January. So I know, you'll see them there along the Florida coast in South Carolina.
Right.
In January, they like to do a little migration there.
Occasionally, you see hammerhead sharks in the Gulf. And Houston, in case anyone's unfamiliar with the map, the 4th biggest city in America, is essentially on the Gulf of Mexico, in Texas, right there near the water, just south of Texas, south of Houston. There's great beaches. It's a super great beach scene and culture down there. And Houston's had a rough few months. You've got you had that deadly Derico, that crazy storm, flooding in May, Hurricane Beryl in July, and now in Houston, it's not the hammerhead sharks you got to worry about in the ocean.
No.
It's the hammerhead flatworms that are coming up out of the ground. This is a real thing. It's an earthworm that's head is flat and looks like a hammerhead. They are toxic. They secrete chemicals through their skin that are dangerous to humans and pets. They can grow up to 15 inches long, which for a worm is plenty long.
It is. I was kind of thinking 50s B horror movie here. I was thinking like 50 feet long or something like that. And huge,
the torrential rain and thunderstorms have brought these invasive species. They're native to Asia. It's brought them out all over Houston, and they're kind of creepy to look at. My single biggest issue with these is you don't want to get rid of them in the way you might think. A lot of local news in Houston. A lot of people freaking out about hammerhead worms. Let's take a listen to a few of the things they're talking about.
Invasive poisonous worms are back in Texas.
Yeah, I hope that you're not eating dinner on this one. It's kind of stunning. What do we know about these invasive toxic hammerhead flatworms?
We know that it can secrete noxious chemicals that can make our dogs or cats feel sick for a day or two if they try to eat them.
Yeah, long and the short of it, you hear hammerhead, shark or worm, it is not good. As you just mentioned, though, they secrete this chemical and are considered to be very toxic. So what is the main threat here? You mentioned your animals like dogs. Is this something very serious if
Didn't she just answer
they
that?
get into these?
No, not at all. So the chemical that they secrete is a defense mechanism. It's basically to deter anything from eating them. So if your dog or cat does try to eat the flatworm, they'll throw it right up. The flatworm will be fine. Your dog or cat will be nauseous for a day or two, and then they'll be fine. And usually they will not try to eat it again.
That's a successful defense mechanism.
Yes, it is. Yes, it's doing its job for sure.
How can people help to eradicate them?
To seal it in a container or spray it with vinegar if you're not comfortable picking them up. We don't want you to cut them up into pieces. They could grow into more.
There it
so
is.
it's really important to physically remove or dissolve it with vinegar when you see it.
Interesting. Wow, we will absolutely be all over this. Thank you so much for your insight, Ashley. We really appreciate it.
We'll be all over this. Thank you.
Oh
Interesting.
My gosh, I hope you folks weren't having breakfast out there when we were doing this story. Oh my Lord.
Two thoughts. First of all, I'm not walking around with a spray can of vinegar, a spray bottle of vinegar, generally speaking. And secondly, I just love when she goes, "Oh, and don't cut it up; it'll regenerate." So you got a garden hoe or your weed eater or just your fingers, and you're like, kill that thing. Cut it in half. Well, now you've got 2 hammerhead earthworms. Cut those in half. Now you've made 4.
Makes me want to do that.
Interesting. Wow, we will absolutely be all over this. Thank you so much for your insight, Ashley. We really appreciate it.
Ashley?
Could we get one of those terrariums or like an ant farm? But could we get a hammerhead earthworm farm here in Minnesota?
It's an invasive species, Steve.
Yeah, well, let's let it invade the studio.
How fun to watch. I want to see it regenerate.
We're rocking the 80s boat in Stillwater tonight. Maybe I'll just have some hammerhead worms in my pockets and just pass them out. Hey, great to see you again, man. Here's a hammerhead worm.
What if someone's dog was to eat this? Isn't this highly toxic? No, not at all. In fact, the worm would even survive a dog trying to eat it. Don't worry, the worm will be all right. The dog will be fine.
Yeah, I love that. The dog will throw up the worm. The worm's fine.
Yeah, the worm will survive.
Worms tell the story. They have their own Jonah and the whale versions. They tell their worm children, now those dogs will eat you, but you'll be fine.
I like the part. Well, hammerhead sharks are hammerhead worms. That's the same thing, basically.
They do say though, it's not going to kill you. It's going to make you a little nauseous. But another thing that they're saying down there is like literally, if you're going to touch it, put gloves on. Like just don't even risk it. Like man, seriously, earthworms coming up.
Who needs it?
Not me.
What if I went fishing with a hammerhead worm and caught a fish and ate the fish?
Well, the fish will be fine.
The fish will be fine.
Thank God.
Yeah. Interesting. That's so interesting, Ashley.
Interesting.
Sounds like a South Park character, doesn't it?
Interesting. Wow, we will absolutely be all over this. Thank you so much for your insight, Ashley. We really appreciate it.
God.
A car in New Jersey, a Tesla in New Jersey that belongs to a couple, walked out one morning and their windshield was shattered. An object had fallen into the windshield of their Tesla. That object was a large fish. They don't live on the coast. They are inland.
Flying fish?
Flying fish, apparently. They're a mile away from the closest bay of water.
That's interesting, Steve. We'll be all over that.
Well, let me tell you this. They didn't touch the fish. They cut it in half, and the fish jumped up and ran away. It grew legs. What they actually think happened was an eagle had been flying with the fish in his talons, and he lost the grip. But they walked out. The first thing I would think, remember, did you ever see the movie Magnolia where it rained frogs at the end?
Right.
If I see a fish, if I'm nowhere near the water and a fish is through my windshield, I'm thinking biblical proportion.
This is it.
Or it's a Sicilian Message, which is Luca Brasi sleeps with the fishes. And I'm like, wait, who's the Luca Brasi in this equation?
Who do I owe money?
Who do I know that's dead already? This is terrible.
This is the couple who it happened to, whom it happened to.
The car started honking, went crazy honking. We were like, holy crap, look at this. It looks like fish scales and blood on the windshield.
Yeah, we're thinking somebody threw it at the car. Like, is somebody after us? Is it vandals? Or
we said we're glad it didn't hit us. We also have an eagle's nest in our yard in the back, so we think it was probably the eagle.
There you go.
Some type of big bird with a big wingspan.
This happens. We get these stories from time to time. The eagle, they're slimy, even with those sharp talons. They lose their butter talons, they call them. Lose their grip and the fish falls down on the road or something like that. But I saw one drop a snake. Steve, you've seen a eagle zooming along or a falcon of some sort dropping a snake. My favorite video, because the dog is okay, but a park. It came down and grabbed a little schnauzer, a big eagle. One of these California condors or something like that. Grabs the dog and gives the dog about a 15, 20, 30-foot ride up into the air out of the park with the lady screaming. I'll have to track it down. And then drops the dog, and it bounced, and it was fine.
The dog's like, again.
Our dog Clementine back in the 90s, lab Rottweiler mix, just a 100-pound bundle of love. We were in Birmingham, Alabama, visiting Rosemary's family, and there's a park right across the street from the house she grew up in. And I'm walking over there with Clementine, and she sees squirrels, and she was a completely controlled dog, really well trained and really smart. Yeah. So I could let her, I'd say go, and she would chase squirrels. They'd go up the trees, and then I could whistle, and she'd run right back. So she was never a risk off leash. And she saw a couple of squirrels across the park, and I said, go ahead. And she's never going to catch them. Never going to catch them. She takes off like a bullet. And then I look up, and she's running after the squirrels, and then she sees another one over to the left, and she turns and adjusts her. No, I'm going after that one. Yeah. It's a dachshund. And I see it, and it's running for its life, and I'm like, no. I watch my beautiful, wonderful 100-pound killing machine close on a dachshund who is running like literally like no. And she opens her mouth and full on, and the second those teeth hit that dachshund's ass, the dachshund goes, wow! And Clementine stops and looks and like, where'd this dog come from? Like, she was so bewildered. And I was like, oh, thank God. And there's a woman screaming. And I'm like, it's fine. I whistle. Right. Clementine runs all the way back. And I'm like, well, last time we'll be in that park. It was so funny. She was the smartest dog I've ever had. But for one quick moment, she didn't know the difference between a dachshund and a squirrel.
We've all been there on a crazy Saturday night.
I was with her once in the park, and she walked away, and a giant, what are those, Aleutians? Big white fluffy dog, Aleutian or it's big, I don't know, some 100-pound fluffy big-ass white dog. This woman had it, and all the dogs were off leash, and this dog walked over to me. I said, hey, buddy, kind of scratched his face. He was huge. And then he turned away, lifted his leg, and just peed right on my leg. Started to.
Hey, guess what I can do? I'm so big, I'm just going to piss on your leg. What are you going to do about it?
Well, what I did was I kicked him hard.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry. That's the uncoolest thing you can do. I kicked him right on it, and he jumped off, and he just looked at me, and I went, no. I was very big into dog training. I felt confident. And he walked off, and his owner goes, what are you doing? I go, your dog just pissed on me. Yeah. And she goes, but that's just his instinct. And I said, and kicking him is my instinct.
There you go. Right answer.
And we almost came to, like, she literally wouldn't drop it. And other dog owners are going, put your dog on a leash if it's going to pee on people. What's wrong with you? Yeah. And it was a whole scene with the cool and the uncool dog park people. Dog parks are just the best for drama.
Isn't that a compliment, though? The dog was marking its territory, going, you're mine.
Yeah. Could have been.
So you should be flattered.
Well, I was playing
like this
hard
big
to get.
Guy. He's petting my face. I'm going to keep you, squirt.
That was the same park where and again, Clementine was this is a 100-pound, she's 50-50. Her dad was a lab, her mom was a Rottweiler. Wow. Beautiful, just terribly intimidating dog. Mm-hmm. She was an angel, but she scared everyone that ever saw her was like, oh my God, and then they'd realize she's great. The only time I ever saw this dog ever show a little bit of fear about another dog, she was always the top dog, always in charge. I'm in this park, and I look, and about 200 yards away, the biggest animal I've ever seen in a park is not walking towards us, but running. And I hear a guy screaming, going, he's friendly! He's okay! And it was a wolf.
Oh,
it was a gray wolf mixed with a husky, but it was like it's 92% wolf, 8% husky, and that dog's head was all not my shoulder, but like my chest level. It was that big, and its name was Tonka. Yeah, and that dog came running towards us, and it was the only time in my life. And my badass warrior Clementine looked at me like,
Didn't jump into your
This
eyes.
is not cool. She was like, she got right next to me, like backing up, like, what are we going to do? And I didn't move. I was like, there's a guy screaming he's friendly.
Yeah.
So it probably is. And the dog was great. He just came right up like, hey, what's going on, guys?
Yeah.
Terrifying, though. That was like, okay, that's a wolf you're walking around with then.
First time I saw a wolf out in the wild, I was absolutely stunning how big they are. You just see them on screen. There's some perspective. They're next to a deer or a moose or something like that, but it doesn't play like it does in real life. And the first time was actually tracks. We were near a ranch in Montana, and one of us had wandered off, Sydney's boyfriend, just a little bit. They're about 20 yards or so, and he goes, hey, I wonder, these look like wolf tracks. The ranch has a dog, and every time you're in Montana out on a trail, someone says, wolf tracks. You're like, no, that's a dog. I'm pretty sure that's just a freaking dog and not even a big dog. And so I said to him, yeah, they have a dog here on the ranch. And as I'm walking over there, I looked down and I went, oh, my God.
Yeah.
It was the size of a generous pancake. I have a picture of it next to my foot. I could put both my feet, and I was wearing hunting boots, inside this track practically. I'm exaggerating just a bit, but it was shockingly large. And then you see one in person out there, and you're like, that's not a dog. That's a beast.
I've never seen one in the wild like that. Coyotes are way smaller than you think, and apparently wolves are just way bigger.
Yeah.
I will watch a wolf documentary. Like, just turn one on right now, and I'm gone. I'm fascinated by those animals.
And they're, the culture, the whole, what is it, the pack, or whatever, the hierarchy.
Pretty great.
Very much like our family in South Dakota, Though it's just, I'm like, oh my God, I grew up in a wolf pack.
Yeah, that's how that works. Lead, follow. I don't care which one, but I'm going to do one or the other.
And sooner or later, mom's going to bite you.
Yeah, well, for your own good.
Yeah, for my own good.
We talk a lot of times. There's in all fields, there's always technological advances that are supposed to AI is the future. And now we can send a man to Mars. There is finally, a technological advance I think we can all agree is in everyone's best interest, and it involves the words T-shirt cannon. Hang tight.
The KQ Morning Show is back. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. That was, of course, Survivor. Eye of the Tiger, which was released when? 83? 84?
I believe.
82?
I thought, I always associate Rocky 3. Or no, that was Rocky.
There's Rocky
3. Yeah. I associate that
Mr.
with
T.
83.
Okay.
That summer, but I'm probably wrong.
So there's a chance we'll hear that song tonight on the cruise, rocking the 80s cruise. Rough House Rocks. We were blasting live music throughout the boat. Drinks with us tonight, sponsored by our friends. Thank you again at Hoffman Weber Construction.
Yes,
I'm trying to combine it. Hoffman Weber Construction. By the way, also, you know what? You know what's cool? Slash, guitarist from Guns N' Roses.
Yep.
Good dude, great musician, and he's got a new album, a blues album called Orgy of the Damned. He's also on a tour called the Serpent Festival Tour with a lot of great artists. Warren Haynes has sat in with him, Billy Gibbons. I mean, you go up different nights, you're going to see somebody great at the very least. Gary Clark Jr. has hopped on stage. You can win a trip to Nashville, Tennessee, where you will attend that very concert show. You'll also get an exclusive Slash soundcheck experience. Plus, you can take home an autographed Gibson guitar and a copy of his new album. Right now, text the national keyword Gibson, Gibson, Gibson to 95819 to enter for a chance to win. In the National Basketball Association, the Los Angeles Clippers have long been a joke, just a doormat team. When they load up the roster with great talent, they all get hurt. When they're healthy, they suck because they have nobody. This is the most snake-bitten, cursed franchise in NBA history. But the last 10 years have been different because Steve Ballmer, one of the Microsoft bigwigs, the guy with an unlimited amount of resources, bought the team, and he's brought an infectious enthusiasm to everything except their win and loss record. They cannot. They've never even made a Western Conference final, if memory serves. They're just never going to be. They're always going to be the Lakers' little redheaded stepbrother. You know what I mean?
Sure.
L.A. is it's a Lakers town. The Clippers should go anywhere else. Go to Seattle. Go to San Diego. Go anywhere. But Steve Ballmer says, no, you know what we need? We need our own arena. We got to stop sharing an arena with the Lakers.
That'll do it.
Well, it's a step in the right direction, I guess. He's built a new arena, the Intuit Dome. It's a $2 billion, not football stadium, but basketball arena. $2 billion.
Jesus.
top shelf everything. There's something called a Halo board. It's that gigantic digital scoreboard in the middle that goes in all directions, a 360. And this thing is probably half the $2 billion budget is just this ginormous scoreboard. And this ginormous scoreboard has got a technological advancement that, like I said before, I think we can all agree this is pretty awesome. So if you're looking at the board, you will see, Steve Ballmer, they showed some people this testing. You're looking at this giant digital high-def screen, and you see the owner of the team standing there. And he's like 40 feet tall. He's holding a balled-up T-shirt, and he throws it towards the camera. And then a real T-shirt shoots out of the digital scoreboard.
Whoa!
The scoreboard has cannons all throughout, and it's designed. They can send a T-shirt to every seat in the arena.
What about a beer?
Like beers, not so much.
All right.
But they can literally. They're not going to shoot out 12,000 T-shirts at once. But I'm saying these things are. They can aim and go send a seat to section 316, row 9, seat 4, and a cannon is going to aim that way and fire a T-shirt.
Why is there a little red dot on my chest?
Yeah, exactly.
And my eye.
Yeah, right. Hey, man, there's a red dot on your forehead.
The T-shirt cannon can hit every single seat in the venue. Wow. Come on, man. The team sucks, but the shirt's going to the upper deck.
Even up on the rafters.
That's what I'm saying.
Because they always get left out.
Raising by seat. Well, you know what? I always hate to piss on everyone's parade, but I guess that's what I do. But, the thing about the T-shirt cannons, it's rather random. I don't feel like it's personal when I don't get one. Oh, well, it's just random. They're just an intern down there, shooting from the hip, literally. Yeah. But if they could hit any seat and they don't hit my seat, now it's personal. Why not me?
The team posted a video of this. You can see how it looks. Cool. And the first comment I saw on Twitter after watching this says, I guess that's the same as using your $130 million. That's the same as using your $130 billion towards curing child cancer.
Well,
let the guy have his come on. I mean, sure.
Yeah.
But come on, it's a T-shirt cannon. And the people in the cheap seats now will get T-shirts.
I doubt they're in the boardroom they came in. What's his cat's name again?
Steve Ballmer.
Steve Ballmer. I'm sure they didn't come in. Hey, Steve, here, we got a couple of things here for you today. We got the school T-shirt, cannon, big screen, scoreboard. Yeah. Or we're thinking about, we also have the cure for children's cancer. What are you thinking? What are you thinking you want to go with today? That's not how that works, man.
That's not exactly how that
works.
How's
the speed and velocity when it's fired?
Pretty strong. I mean, it gets
that
there.
Would be cool.
It gets there.
I mean, it has to be so technologically advanced because, you can't fire with the same power down there at the first deck. Something closer than the cheap seats up there. So
if this were an '80s comedy, some wacky computer scientist intern would get in there and he would rig those things to not shoot T-shirts, but small little something to interrupt the other team, like they'd be in the team huddle and then these guns are pointed and shooting little like spitwads or something.
Yeah.
I could see a young
ball.
Matthew Broderick playing that part.
Yeah.
Oh, that would have been hijinks galore. The Ohio State Supreme Court, the state of Ohio, their Supreme Court has just come in with a ruling that's, it's pretty important, and I'd like to see this become a national thing. If in my mind, and what they ruled was, boneless chicken can have bones.
I don't want bones in my boneless chicken. I mean, I don't. Yeah, let's not put the bones in the boneless chicken.
I undergrad at Dartmouth. I got my law degree from the Ohio State University. I served honorably in Cincinnati for 40 years. I'm now a member of the Ohio Supreme Court, and I'm going to tell you that boneless chicken can have bones. But this is what they're spending their time thinking about.
So be it.
Check this out. A few years ago, a man, this is where it all started. A dude walks into a restaurant, obviously in Ohio, and he orders boneless wings.
Yeah.
One of them did have a bone.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That wasn't the problem. He choked on it.
Yeah.
He was saved, but his throat got infected, and he had 2 separate surgeries to fix the damage.
Bad hop, man.
Then he sued the restaurant owners. Then he sued the chicken suppliers, and then he sued the chicken's processors, and the case went all the way to the Ohio Supreme Court. In a 4-3 decision, a contentious, divided decision, the court ruled that boneless chicken can have bones. The majority said, quote, boneless chicken wings is a cooking style. It's not a guarantee. Just as a person eating chicken fingers would know he had not been served fingers.
Well, it's not the same thing.
And you're telling me these guys aren't on the take? That majority decision was paid for by Tyson Chicken or somebody.
Yes.
Come on.
Well, you know, those robes aren't cheap.
Good
it's
Lord.
real silk they use, I think, in those robes.
The minority argument said, no, could someone allergic to nuts or gluten sue if they were served something dangerous to them? Of course, people can die. Lactose, gluten, and nuts are natural to foods. You have to let people know, blah, blah, blah.
Well,
and they're like, no, that's different.
All right.
Listen, all I'm saying is if you're in the state of Ohio, just cook at home.
Yeah.
Make your own food.
You know, we know that chickens, we see them walking around. There appears to be some sort of skeleton holding them up, you know. So they have bones. So when you, process the chicken to make it boneless, you know, it's a reasonable assumption when I'm having a walleye sandwich over at Park Tavern, a bone might be in there. It's a fish. One might have slipped through the cracks. You know, if I end up choking on a bone, I guess, I don't know. I'm not taking it to the Supreme Court. I hate everybody in this decision.
Who put the bone in the boneless chicken wings?
Hey, man.
Yeah.
I've spent way too much time as an adult just contemplating how many chickens there are, because you just go to one KFC or Popeyes and just count the number of chicken pieces going out in a day, and you're like,
endless. Yeah.
That's one. I mean, how many chickens a day are we selling to people around the world? Billions.
We, as a country, just killed 15 million chickens, or we have so far this year. The bird flu. I think here in Minnesota, it's over 1 million, right?
Oh,
1 million
that's right,
two. They blasted out, but I just read that the other day. That we're up there around 15 million chickens have been slaughtered and not enjoyed because of the bird flu. So, that's 15 million we've got to spare. And guess what? We could literally go to our favorite chicken place today, and we're not going to have to wait. No. We're not going to say, come back tomorrow.
There's plenty.
There's bird flu out there. There's a hell of a lot of chickens out there. Just drive on out to South Dakota. You'll pass one about every 10 miles. You'll smell it. You'll know it when you get near it.
Go to Nashville. Go to Prince's Hot Chicken, the place that invented Nashville hot chicken, and bring a bird flu chicken in there. They'll kill it. I mean, I'm saying the spices will kill the flu. You can eat a bird flu chicken at Prince's. Trust me, no problem.
Get away with it.
No questions asked.
And was this guy? All right, I'm over this story, but was the guy chewing the chicken nuggets? I mean, was he swallowing them whole? How the hell do you get a bone so large that it tears your throat up and you need surgery?
He choked on it. It got infected. Right. 2 surgeries. Yeah, he sounds like a guy. I mean, I mean, maybe he himself might have brittle bone disease. I don't know. Just something about that throat thing. I mean,
is there ham in hamburgers?
Yeah.
All right.
That's where we're headed.
I'm over it.
That's where we're headed. I can tell you this. Just going back to the thing. So Nashville hot chicken, that's a thing, right? I mean, there's several different. I mean, there's places here in Minneapolis. We serve Nashville style hot chicken.
The hot new franchise.
There is a video, in case you're curious, that's great. That was made by a Southern restaurateurs thing years ago. The origin of Nashville hot chicken, because it was at one place called Prince's Hot Chicken, and the original location burned a few years ago. It had been there since sometime in the 60s, I guess, or 70s. And I've gone there several times. It's a phenomenal place. The story was literally this. A man came home after catting around, as his wife said. A dude's out of the town, leaves the wife at home. He comes in late at 4 a.m. and he says, "Woman, I'm hungry." He's drunk and he needs to eat. And she thought, well, I'm going to make him some fried chicken and I'm just going to put every spice I have into it to torture him. Mm-hmm. And she made the hottest chicken she could possibly make. And he was like, damn, this is awesome. He ate it all. And
that's why I come home to you, baby.
And then he said, like, make that again. And it's just cayenne pepper and all this stuff. And that's the origin story. It started as torture. And he was like, oh, this is it.
That's much better than the Colonel's origin story. I mean, that's a good one.
It certainly is. But that original place, Prince's, the first time I went with a friend who's from Nashville, and he said, I said, hey, do you know where is Princess? He goes, oh, it's up Dickerson Pike. It's in a weird spot. Let's go get lunch one day. And I said, oh, is it a lunch place? He goes, oh yeah, you don't want to eat after like 2 p.m. You got to get there for lunch. I said, what do you mean? He goes, just trust me. If you have dinner there, you won't sleep. I mean, it's an early day thing. And he goes, and that's only medium. We're not going to get the hot. And I'm like, come on, I like hot. This is 20 years ago. I'm like, I like hot food. And we go into this place, and it's a hole in the wall, and it's dingy. And
awesome.
And I got the hot. It's a half chicken, and it's served on just a couple pieces of white bread and a couple of pickles. I went hot.
Yeah.
And when I ordered hot, the guy said, have you been here before? I said, no. And he goes, I'm going to make you medium. I said, no, I just give me the hot. And I said, I know I'll regret it. And he said, okay. And without me asking, he wrote it down. I paid him. And then he just put up a thing of individual size purity whole milk. And he goes, just take it. I'm like,
trust me.
Okay. So I sat down with my milk, but also with an iced tea. And this chicken came out, and it was two things. It was the best piece of chicken I'd ever eaten, and far and away the hottest food I'd ever eaten.
Kidding.
But it was so hot. I had tears, I had snot, and I'm not making this up. I had like earwax bubbling in my ears.
Oh man!
You finished the whole thing.
It felt like my ears were leaking. It was, and I ate the whole thing.
How was bedtime?
It was. This is at 1 p.m, and I went home, and just throughout the rest of the day, it was just like some plain yogurt and just various things, and I got through it okay. I was literally crying, and I'm still like, this is killing me, but I couldn't stop eating it. It was so good.
Did you ever have it again?
Yeah.
No, I had medium many times.
Yes.
And by the way, the medium is still incredibly hot. But the hot, I only had it once, and it was just astounding. I mean, like the amount of sweat and just I smelled like that for 3 days. I'm serious. It was unlike anything else I've ever experienced.
Did you look around and see other people experiencing the same thing too?
No, I was the only guy in there that day that had never been there. You could tell it was all just locals. They all knew what they were doing. But it was just great because and it's just a little window. It's an indoor place, but they're behind a window at the counter. And the guy, and I said, yeah, I'll just get the whole hot. And he went, have you been here? No. I'll give you the medium. I mean, it was just like, dude, we do this all the time. Stop. You don't want the hot.
Yeah.
But I did. But yeah, I never went back. But then, and that was this is 20 years ago. And right then, there were a few other spots that had opened up, and it was turning into a thing. You've got the Nashville Hot Chicken Festival down there now, where there's a million imitators. But the original place, which is still there, they just opened one at the Nashville airport, a Prince's Hot Chicken in the airport. And I was like, oh my God, this is fantastic. Anyway, yeah, if you just want, if you find yourself in Nashville, you're going to see a lot of options. Just remember Prince's, and they're not one of our sponsors. I'm not doing this for any reason other than it's true. Find Prince's Hot Chicken and just go flame yourself right out of contention.
So
what's that
want
famous?
It right or now?
Yeah, we went down there. Obviously, one of our KQ trips. We're down there, and it's one of these windows on Broadway, I think. And we're walking past it, and there's a long line in the middle of the day. It's the Nashville Hot Chicken. And I don't think that was the brand, the franchise that we see.
That would have been Hattie B's.
Okay, Hattie B's. That sounds right.
Yep.
And we got to try it. Well, my spicy years have long since passed me. If I ever had any spicy years, but I said, okay, I'll jump in line and I will get the mildest that they have.
Yeah.
And then that will bother me for the rest of this trip, which it did. Yeah. I had the mildest. I can't imagine what medium was like. I was like, do you have any that you haven't sauced yet? If you just let it sit in the air and let the other spices just touch it through the air. But she kind of chuckled, and I got my Nashville Hot Chicken, and I did not finish it. That was... It's a thing.
It's a thing for sure. Another thing that is happening that is for sure is the Stray Cats. They're going to be at the Ledge Amphitheater August 9th. I'm just going to say it once. If you've never seen the Stray Cats, you really need to see the Stray Cats. And I've got other information about this show that I'll share with you in just a few moments. Hang tight.
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS. Zep, Tony, and Steve Gorman are the KQ Morning Show. 92 KQRS. Always want to hear from you. Call or text 651-989-ROCK. 651-989-ROCK. 92 KQRS.
Also, if you've never smoked weed when it was illegal, you don't deserve to smoke weed when it's legal. You know? Yeah, you didn't earn it. If you've never smuggled up your ass on a Southwest airline flight, or threw your stash out the window because you're getting pulled over for expired tags, you don't just jump in the game now like, thanks for going to prison so I can smoke reefer for my anxiety.
I love this guy. Oh, I'm
Right there.
sorry. Yeah, here I am. I just got to get caught listening to the comedy a little bit.
Dean Del Rey, as at Acme tonight with 2 shows, tomorrow night with 2 shows, and he's going to be here with us in studio an hour from right now. I saw Dean's set last night at Acme. It was fantastic. Been a buddy of mine for many years, and originally a musician from the Bay Area, was in bands for years, and in his early 40s just said, you know what? I think I'm going to try stand-up. And he has just been,
That's
and
great.
he's been just kicking ass for 15 years.
Yeah.
And he's done a lot of, he does a lot of dates with Bill Burr. They're very close friends. And he goes out with Burr and did a lot of stuff with Mark Maron and a lot of comedians. Dean's the kind of guy that a lot of those big headliners call and say, hey, come out and do dates with me, for one simple reason. Dean, because he's been on the road for his whole adult life, he knows every cool spot in every town in America. He is just a road dog.
Yep.
And a great dude, and I always look forward to the hang. He'll be here in about an hour. And Dean and I have done a gig together for years in L.A. It's a tribute to Bon Scott.
Yeah.
Because that man you just heard, who's a very funny comedian, again, at Acme tonight and tomorrow, he does Bon Scott. I mean, he sounds spectacularally like Bon Scott when he sings, which is not an easy feat. And we put these gigs together. Dean's been doing it for years. Where it's a handful of comedians like Bill Burr and Mark Maron, who plays guitar. Burr's a drummer. Well, as I say to Bill, well, he owns drums, but he's a drummer. No, but and then a bunch of guys from rock bands, and they do a night of comedy and AC/DC in L.A. We've done it 4 or 5 times.
Fun.
And it's just a blast because you sit there and these guys get up and they all do 15 or 20 minutes of comedy, hilarious, and then we just jam AC/DC songs all night. It's an absolute riot. So anyway. That's not happening at Acme tonight. It's just Dean doing comedy. But he's there tonight and tomorrow night, 2 shows both nights, and he's really, really, really great. So I look forward to speaking with him. Check this out. I asked before the break, what's the dumbest thing you ever did, and did you ever do it twice in the same day? Just curious, because a 43-year-old gentleman was just popped. Okay, it wasn't the same day, but it was within the same week. He flew into Seattle-Tacoma International Airport. Okay? That's the Seattle International Airport. He flew in from the Netherlands. Security found in his bags 12 pounds of ketamine in both liquid and powdered form, 2 pounds of codeine, and 3 ounces of GHB. That's just a whole lot of mind-bending drugs.
Yeah, wow. That's Hunter S. Thompson headed across the desert to Vegas.
Yeah. He was arrested, as you might imagine, posted bail, and then went right back to the same airport because he had a ticket to London. And security stopped him before the plane took off because his checked bag had more than 1/2 pound of ketamine.
Well, yeah, they took all of his other drugs. What's
so
he supposed
this
to do?
is a
Sober
new
up?
stash of drugs. Something tells me this is not his first time muling drugs around the world.
Oh, but he's on a little bad bit of bad luck run, as they say.
Yeah, so arrested twice at the same airport, both times for smuggling drugs in the same week.
I wouldn't have tried it at the same airport, man. I got to be honest. I think I would just given it just a little bit of a break, you know. Just all right, let me get safely back to wherever his origin is. I don't know where that might be. Sounds like he's kind of jet setting some drugs around the planet. But
I mean, he made it out of the Netherlands to Seattle, so I guess. Maybe the Dutch authorities found the stuff, but they said, we'll just let him go and then we'll alert Seattle when he lands. Maybe.
How do you get away with that? I feel like if you get busted with that many drugs at the airport, you're not going to your hotel and getting more drugs and jumping back at the airport a week later. I feel like you're going to be in jail for a while.
He posted bail.
Yeah.
They put him on. They gave him a number,
he did.
and he was able to hit it. whoever's paying him to move these drugs around, this could be the old, we're gonna tip the authorities off to this guy because the real shipment's much bigger and it's somewhere else.
Yeah,
this guy needs to check out. He needs to look in the mirror and ask himself the tough questions. Who are my real friends?
Now, I may be an idiot, but there is one thing I am not, sir, and that, sir, is an idiot.
Yeah, that's exactly it. He's facing charges. The new charges are possession with the intent to distribute ketamine. Yeah, to your point, just rent a car, go to Portland, Oregon, try it there.
Yeah, he's got to come back to Seattle now because he has a court date. What do you think? He's bringing some drugs back with him next time he comes in?
They'll never suspect it.
Exactly.
Nobody would go down that road 3 times in a row.
Oh,
man.
Well, good luck to you. Sounds like he probably used some drugs right about now.
I just never had a real knack for much, but I realized smuggling drugs I'm good at, right? But I'm not really good at it. I'd like to be better. I'm still going to work at it,
I feel like I look guilty at the airport when I don't have drugs.
Yeah.
I just can't imagine trying to get like pounds.
I had
one
one airport experience at an international airport. This would be in Italy, in Milan, and I flew in. And I have a doctor's bag. It's like my travel bag. It's my purse essentially, but it's like an old-fashioned doctor's bag. It holds, and it's great. It has my books and glasses and stuff and whatever I got to travel.
Syringes.
Syringes. But at one point back in the day, as a much younger traveler, I did have there was Visine. Like a Visine, a little bottle of Visine. But it was not eye drops. It was liquid LSD. I had never taken any of it. It was given to me by a guy who worked for the Grateful Dead. So, that meant it was probably great acid. Right. But he said, you just want a drop of this. And I had that in my bag for months, and I'd never used it. And I was like, and I was kind of afraid of it. I was like, that guy, that's probably really strong stuff. And more than anything, I left it in my doctor's bag just because it was kind of funny to have it and know what it was.
It is.
And there were a couple times when I would look in there and go, oh, Visine. Oh, that's not Visine. And it was always like, wait, don't put that in my eye, no matter what. And so one of the guys in the band and I were doing just a press tour, just bouncing around Europe, just doing interviews, no gigs, just 2 of us. Different airport every day, and we got to Italy, and I was just standing there waiting for my suitcase, but I looked, and over where people are going through customs with their luggage, they're pulling everybody. They had clearly gotten tipped off something's on this flight because every single piece of luggage they were opening, and I didn't have anything else. I'm like, well, this is fine, and I'm like, well, I mean, this thing's been in here 6 months. Nobody's even looked at it. It says it's Visine. And I have no plans to even use it, but I'm like, I don't want to throw it away though. Yeah. But then I'm looking, and I was just starting to kind of panic, and I'm like, hang on, I don't need to go to jail anywhere, and definitely not in Italy for something I'm not even using. Right. And so I just walked over to the trash can, and I opened my bag, and I pulled it out. And then I'm like, what if they see me throwing this out? I mean, I'm literally starting to get paranoid. And so I'm like in my late 20s. I'm not like a teenager. And I literally go, oh, this says it's expired. Like, I just felt like I needed to say that.
That's
like,
hilarious.
They probably have microphones. I go, oh, man, this is expired. I'll just get some new eye drops at the pharmacy. And I just drop it in there. And, of course, I walk through, and they open my suitcase. They would have never.
No.
I'm like, but I just remember that feeling of. So I can't imagine what it feels like when you literally have pounds of drugs and you're like, please don't open my suitcase. And then the guy just looks at you and goes, come here. You just got to fall apart. I don't know how anybody can handle it.
I wonder if later that day they were sitting around customs going, we got the tip. The guy had the Visine full of acid. We never. We went through everyone's bag.
Yeah.
And ended up confiscating 15 bottles of Visine, but we never got that acid. He slipped through.
Man, you just know there's some garbage man in Milan too who later that day was like, he's like, oh, these allergies, my eyes are going crazy. Oh my God, is that Visine in that trash? But it's not even been opened. Oh, that's perfect.
Funny. No, he didn't use it because it was expired.
Oh, that's right. It was expired. Oh no, we went over the tapes. That is expired. That's right. No, we listened. We had the baggage area bugged.
Would you just tempted though to get a Sharpie and write on the bottle, do not put an eye?
Yeah.
I wouldn't have trusted myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could have gone horribly wrong. Another Here's another fun tourist story. Okay, Death Valley National Park in California. They have had record temperatures this summer, which it's called Death Valley. How bad can it be? Well, 123 degrees last week. Just flat out, 123. And a 42-year-old Belgian gentleman was in Death Valley. I imagine if you're from Belgium, you go to Death Valley, you go to the California desert for the first time. It's
get the
like,
selfie with the Death Valley sign.
It's like being on another planet.
Yeah.
There's nothing that compares to that in Europe.
It says right there on the sign, average annual rainfall of Death Valley, 0.033 inches per year or something like that.
Well, this guy was like, not only did he want to go into Death Valley, he had to check out those sand dunes. And so he went out and walked on the sand dunes. Again, 123 degrees Fahrenheit. Ground temperature, they do note, park officials say, is always, by the way, much higher than the air temperature.
Yep.
Because that sand is just baking in the sun all damn day. Dude walked into the sand dunes wearing flip-flops.
Idiot.
Flip-flops.
Stupid.
And the flip-flops, well, they came off his feet and he couldn't find them because they're in sand dunes and they were immediately covered with sand.
Blisters.
He wishes it was just blisters. Very serious burns on his feet. And where do you can't lay down in it. Then you're burning your ass or your back.
You got to take your freaking pants off or something and wrap them around you idiot.
Yeah, he found himself very quickly in severe pain, sharp pain with severe burns on his feet. And here's the worst thing. He got word to the authorities, the park people, and they said, okay, we got a problem here, bud. It's too hot to bring a helicopter in because he was not anywhere near a ranger
I didn't know that was a thing.
It's too hot. You can't fly. You can't land a helicopter when it's 120 degrees.
Didn't know that.
Really?
So they had to drive in and they had to put him in an ambulance, which took a long time to find him, and then drive him out to a place where it was cooler for a medical copter to then take him to Las Vegas to a hospital. So it was several hours of just his feet just roasted.
Well, not only his feet, but exposure to this heat. I mean, just minutes out in that type of temperature. I doubt he was wearing, a long flowing white robe, with a UV protected sun hat or anything. If he's out there in flip flops, he's probably in cargo shorts and a tank top, and he's sitting out there in that exposure the entire time. Probably not under the one tree they have out there in Death Valley.
And I'd be willing to bet you anything, at least a dozen times, he looked at someone and goes, "I'm not French, I'm from Belgium." because they really want you to know they're from Belgium.
Yeah, well, we know you're from Belgium because you're an idiot.
Dude, look, the cherry beer is nice for a sip or two, but that's no way to live.
Death Valley.
Come on.
And flip-flops.
Death Valley and flip-flops is pretty strong.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's you're not asking for trouble, you are begging for trouble.
Well, those are like the folks out in Yellowstone that see those hot thermal pools and think, a hot tub. I'm going to wade in there. It's a little chilly out today. I bet that would feel good.
Probably not the best idea.
No, they had one dude, they found a foot in there, and it was just the skeletal foot. The rest of them had disintegrated. Not only are these things somewhere between 120, 150 degrees, boiling, literally boiling, but they're very acidic. Like a hydrochloric acid.
Oh, my God.
Just like Breaking Bad. They just,
And they smell, too, right?
Oh, yeah, like rotten eggs.
Yeah.
That's the sulfur. Yeah.
I'm gonna get in that thermal pool. It'll help me wash all the bleach off. What the hell? What are these people thinking? Let me get in that acidic thermal pool with bleach. And as long as we're here. Do you got any gasoline?
Dunskies.
Good Lord. It is Friday, July the 26th. We are approaching 9 o'clock, so it's very important that we share with you the top 5 at 9. Hang tight.
The KQ Morning Show is back. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. Happy Friday. It is July the 26th. We are having a fine morning if you're just now joining us. You may have missed a few things, but don't worry. We're going to give you right now the top 5 at 9. Here are the top 5 things you need to know. As we move into the weekend, the Summer Olympics have already begun. The opening ceremony's happening in just a few hours.
Yep.
The pomp and the pageantry and the Celine Dion and the Snoop Dogg and the LeBron James and the Simone Biles. An awful lot of Minnesotans over there representing the good old U.S. of A.
Right.
And not just the Anthony Edwards of the Timberwolves or the Nafisha Collier of the Lynx, not just the professional athlete. Cheryl Reeve of the Lynx is one of the coaches, of course. You've got an awful lot of proper Olympic athletes, as we would call them, amateurs.
Yeah, or amateurs. They work at the Home Depots and at the Love 105, these kinds of places.
Suni Lee, St. Paul, women's artistic gymnastics, of course. You've got Regan Smith from Lakeville be swimming the backstroke, and the butterfly, the 100, the 200, and the 200.
Go Panthers.
Go Panthers. Go Bears.
Is it Pumas?
Jordan Thompson from Medina playing volleyball. My favorite, as I said before, Lara Dahlman-Weiss, sailing. She's from Shoreview. That's the hot money's on Lara Dahlman-Weiss. Mixed dinghy. I don't know what that is, but I'm going to watch it. I'm going to find out.
I know you got to find it. I'll find it. I'll track it down.
Yeah, Sarah Bacon from the U Gophers diving, 3-meter springboard and 3-meter synchronized. The whole point is this: a lot of Minnesotans over there representing the USA in the Olympics, and I've said it a million times. Here I go again. I don't care until they start, and now I'm going to spend the weekend staring at the TV.
I do watch that synchronized diving stuff. Like people watch a lava lamp. Like I just can't take my eyes off of it.
Yeah,
I'm endlessly fascinated by the amount of showers they take in between dives. It's right to the shower
constantly
every
showering,
time.
and they got a little hot tub there.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, it's
living.
Those swimmer bods too. It's not like it's not muscle. They're just like soft curves, and they can. Yeah, they're like
so
dolphins.
Lean.
Yeah, so lean.
It's real simple to get into diving. Just the smaller the splash, the higher the score. Just remember that. And it's weird when you see. And over the last few Olympics, it just is every year the Chinese team is just incredible. And you see guys and girls, they hit the water and like one drop comes out. I'm like, what the hell was that? Bloop. Man. Yeah,
that's great stuff. The track and field, I was watching Brad Upton. He's a comedian, and he was doing a bit last night on the 100-meter dash. He said, you know what would put it into perspective? They're also freaking fast.
Yeah.
You really don't understand how fast they are on these tracks right now, unless Usain Bolt's beating everyone by. He goes, what they ought to do is just one lane, pull someone out of the crowd. Anyone out of the crowd. Yeah. Bill Berditzman in row 113, seat 4. Come on down. And just put him on lane 7 or 8 over there and just let him run and just watch him just get blown away by these guys.
For that matter, not even just any random guy, just find a good high school athlete. Just find like a really good high school basketball player or football player and watch them get destroyed. Because they'd still be 2 full seconds, which in 100 meters is a long way back if they're lucky. It reminds me of the movie The End with Burt Reynolds and Dom DeLuise, where he's contemplating ending his life and he's looking through his high school yearbook and he's got that wistful and he goes, oh man, 3 seconds faster in 100, I would have been all state. 3 seconds faster, I would have been all state. We can all say that.
Yeah.
On the top 5 at 9, Delta Airlines say, hey, we're back to normal. I would hope so. My goodness, hundreds of millions of dollars in the can this week. Since that CrowdStrike global outage messed up a lot of airlines, Delta took it by far the worst. I'm not exactly sure. I mean, I keep reading about it and I keep forgetting because it's just like, too much tech info. For whatever reason, Delta was hit so much worse than other airlines.
Yeah.
6,000 cancellations, almost 9,000 delayed flights. Thousands and countless thousands of passengers stranded for days on end. This is brutal. It will not be forgotten anytime soon.
How many vouchers do you think they handed out in the last week?
Did you see that the company, CrowdStrike, the company who were responsible for the outage, they're just giving people $10 like gift cards for $10. Now here, go get a half.
For your 3 days in the airport?
Get a half a burrito on me.
$10.
Jeez. Number 3 in the top 5 at 9, San Diego Padres pitcher Dylan Cease. Last night, for only the second time in Padres history, threw a no-hitter. That's exceptional at any time. A no-hitter is really great. But check this out. This kid, Dylan Cease, has just had 3 starts that are historically great. 3 straight games where through at least 6 innings of baseball, he has had 1 or 0 hits in 3 straight games.
Yeah,
that's never been done before.
Yeah, he's out of his mind.
Yeah, he's out of his mind, and he's leading the major leagues in strikeouts this season. I've never heard his name. I actually have heard his name, but I couldn't have told you who he played for. But this is a kid to keep your eye on. Dylan Cease, well done, young lad.
I'm sure the White Sox are missing him. I think he got away from the White Sox, didn't he? And out to the Padres. And what are the White Sox? About 257 right now in that season?
Maybe.
Season schedule. I know they're about 30 games out.
Number 2 on the top 5 at 9. Our friends in Texas have been dealing with an awful lot. Houston metropolitan area. Now, Houston is the 4th biggest city in America. It is ginormous. I mean, it's like when you say Houston, just think of Chicago, but hotter, and down on the Gulf of Mexico, and having oil refineries all around. Think that's what you want to picture. A lot of flooding, historic flooding in May from the rivers. Hurricane Beryl hit in July, and now all that rain, all that water is bringing up something that is normally hidden underground. Hammerhead flatworms. Hammerhead flatworms. Now, it's not as bad as the movie Tremors.
No, not quite.
They're not quite that big. They're only 15 inches long.
Oh.
But this is an earthworm. It's a flatworm that looks like its head is flat like a hammerhead shark. It is toxic. It is poisonous. It can't kill you, but if you touch it, they say, well, don't touch it. Don't let your dogs or your cats try to eat them. The dog and cat will not die, but they will get sick. These things are brutal. And then, of course, the best part is if you see one, they say, don't chop it into pieces, because every piece will grow another flatworm, hammerhead worm. They're just monsters, basically, of the earth. And now they're coming back. Local news in Houston is all over this story, and there's some very excitable local newscasters.
Can make our dogs or cats feel sick for a day or two if they try to eat them.
Yeah, long and the short of it, you hear hammerhead, shark or worm, it is not good. You know, your animals, like dogs, is this something very serious if they get into these?
Again?
No, not at all.
Okay.
So the chemical that they secrete is a defense mechanism. It's basically to deter anything from eating them. So if your dog or cat does try to eat the flatworm, they'll throw it right up. The flatworm will be fine. Your dog or cat will be nauseous for a day or two, and then they'll be fine. And usually they will not try to eat it again.
That's a successful defense mechanism.
Yes, it is. Yeah, doing its job for sure.
How can people help to eradicate them?
To seal it in a container or spray it with vinegar if you're not comfortable picking them up. We don't want you to cut them up into pieces. They could grow into more. So it's really important to physically remove or dissolve it with vinegar when you see it.
Interesting. Wow, we will absolutely be all over this. Thank you so much for your insight, Ashley. We really appreciate it.
Oh, my gosh. And then he added,
That's the way it is? Then I just hate you, and I hate your ass face.
sounds like Corky.
It does sound like Corky. I wish I was in Houston, because I got all this extra vinegar laying around and I don't have any use for it. Spray it with vinegar or put it in a plastic baggie.
Do not chop it up into little pieces.
Interesting. Yeah. Wow, we will absolutely be all over this. Thank you so much for your insight, Ashley. We really appreciate it.
Bastard people. That's what you are. You're just bastard people.
Oh, my God. That's fantastic. So anyway, if you're going to Houston, keep an eye, keep your head on a swivel. Those hammerhead worms are coming. Finally, the number one thing you need to know on our top 5 at 9, it is Rock the Boat Day. Tonight, we'll be in Stillwater, rocking the 80s cruise. We're going to have a very, very good time, because that's kind of how we roll.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Reminder, Stillwater, because usually we do this someplace else, but we're going to be in Stillwater. Don't miss the boat.
If you got to, and by the way, this thing is sold out. Remember, we're going Stillwater. It's not we're not even going to mention other locations. Stillwater, Stillwater, Stillwater.
I feel like you guys are just telling me that to throw me off, and it's actually at Harriet Island.
I said don't say it.
No, you did it.
I did. I said it. It's not at Harriet Island. Is it at Harriet Island?
Is it in Roseville?
Tonight, it's at Harriet Island. What about Harriet Island?
The boat's in Stillwater. Go to Stillwater.
Might do some pre-gaming at the Freight House.
Yeah, right. Well,
Heads
grab
up.
a spot on the deck under the umbrella. I like it.
Fair enough.
Why not?
All right. Yeah, hold my seat.
That's in St. Paul? All right, I'm done.
Stillwater. It's in Stillwater. Come on, man. We got to get to Stillwater.
That is so interesting. We are all over that.
Christine, wow, we will absolutely be all over this. Thank you so much for your insight, Ashley. We really appreciate it.
We have been giving away tickets to that boat. The tickets you could buy have been sold out. There's which is great. We're going to have a great time. I do want to remember. I would be remiss if I did not remember to mention also this whole weekend you can listen to win tickets to 92 KQRS presents Alice Cooper with Rob Zombie Ministry and Filter.
Wow.
August 25th at the XL Energy Center. Your first chance to win happens after 5 today with Lisa Miller. So Delta says they're back to normal. What is about to change in the airline industry? How about this? Southwest announced yesterday they're now going away from open seating. What? Southwest is going to stop open seating. They're going to be assigning seats very soon.
That's radical. That's their thing.
Which changes. Yeah, exactly. Then that just means it's just going to be Southwest without the novelty of sit where you want?
So was I the only person that didn't know that they did this? It was just a free-for-all when you buy a ticket on Southwest?
Apparently so.
Yeah. No, I do. I know a lot of people that enjoy flying Southwest. They're frequent flyers of Southwest, and they don't like it. No, they want to be assigned their seat, go to your seat, know where you're going, because, it's a bit of a scrum, It's like trying to get into a general admission concert. I don't know. I don't fly Southwest too often.
I never did until I moved to Nashville, and it's a hub city. So, you're getting and 20 years ago, it was still really cheap. It was crazy. I was getting, I was flying places for $39 and $49.
Wow.
And so it's kind of like open seating and peanuts and not a lot of leg room. Fine. It's a bargain. Those bargain days are long gone for Southwest. So it's interesting. They say what they're doing is they're changing the seating policy as part of their, quote, continuing strategic transformation. And their intent is to, quote, elevate the customer experience. What does that mean? They're going to add legroom to a third of the seats and charge you more for that. So you can upgrade for more legroom, but their profits apparently 46% down from the second quarter profits a year ago. 46%. That's substantial.
Had a tough year last year.
They certainly did.
They had their glitch.
A year and a half ago during the holidays.
All right, it was during the holidays.
Yep.
That's right, because Sid the kid was flying and she got somewhere. Her bags did not. They ended up in Denver, and I think it took her like 6 weeks to get her bags back. But long after she needed them. But so basically what they're saying is we're just going to fall in line and do it the same way everyone else does it.
Yep. Oh, and they're for the first time also adding red-eye flights from the West Coast to the East. They're adding red-eyes. Big fan of the red-eye myself. If I'm on the West Coast and I got to go east, I love nothing more than getting on a plane at midnight and sleeping for 3 hours and then being really tired the whole next day. But I do. It works for me. One other quick note, speaking of travel at Minneapolis-St. Paul Airport, JetBlue is pulling out. JetBlue has had one flight, Minneapolis to Boston. From MSP, they only serve Boston, but now that is going to end after that's about 6 years of service. They are no longer going to be here. They stop in October. If you've already bought a ticket, they'll refund it or put you on another plane. But JetBlue, just as I said, just a single route, but that route is a thing of the past as of October.
We hardly knew ye.
The JetBlue thing, when JetBlue first hit, do you remember they were the first airline, to my knowledge, that had live TV?
Yeah, that's true.
And the first time I got on a JetBlue flight and was watching television, I was literally like, holy, I'm in the Jetsons here. This is amazing.
I didn't know. I missed the boat on the JetBlue. The first time they showed up on my radar was when people were spending 10 hours sitting on the tarmac.
Really?
Yeah, they were getting stranded left and right, and this budget airline. So don't know too much about them.
I had one JetBlue flight from JFK in New York to Denver. So that's about a 4.5 hour flight. And it was, we boarded and we sat at the gate without moving for about 2 hours. And then we got on the tarmac and sat there for like an hour.
See?
And then we flew, and it ended up being like an 8-hour experience on that airline.
That's the experience a lot of people were having. And just very quickly decided that was not going to be my experience.
But I watched TV the whole time, so it was okay on that little screen in front of me. And my headset, only one side worked. So actually, the more I think about it, it sucked. What the hell am I talking about? That was terrible.
Well, I mean, you got to have your budget airlines. You got to have your alternatives. The kids got to be able to fly around.
That's very true.
Everyone can plunk down $1 billion for ticket.
This is very true. I also did an experience once on a New York subway where I was sitting across from an older guy, 50s, maybe even 60s, and he was a JetBlue pilot. And this is when they were rolling out the airline. There was a big event somewhere in New York City, and me and my buddy Brian on a subway across from a JetBlue pilot in his pilot's uniform, and he was this drunk. You gotta get on JetBlue. He was hammered.
On his way home, I hope.
I don't know. I didn't know pilots could afford to live in Manhattan. It was crazy.
We take the subway.
Yeah, he got off in Lower Manhattan. We're going out to Brooklyn, and we're like, I can't believe a drunk airline pilot was just talking up his airline to us. So yeah, yet another. What the hell was I thinking flying on JetBlue?
You're not selling it, man.
Man, here I was thinking I was going to talk about how awesome they were. Now I'm retroactively terrified I ever went near the damn place.
You boys should have some wings here. I'll pin this right on the.
It's a whole new. But I will say, they had a great lounge. The JetBlue terminal in JFK was really hip and a great bar, and they were playing loud music. So I like that part.
Yeah, it's cool.
The plane landed where it was supposed to. I went to so you know what? It's all on the whole. It was an even Steven experience.
That waiting in the plane stuff. Yeah, I don't have a lot of patience for it.
If you want to fly to Las Vegas to see a concert, we can help you out. Check this: Billy Joel and Sting will be sharing the stage for one night only this November in Las Vegas. You can score a trip for two that includes round-trip airfare, a 2-night hotel stay, and tickets to the show at Allegiant Stadium. Right now, text the national keyword ONE, O-N-E, 1 to 95819 to enter for a chance to win. How about that? Dean Delray is a very funny man. He's a great dude, a good friend of mine. He is at Acme tonight, 2 shows, Acme tomorrow night, 2 shows, and I'm here to tell you, you will have a great time if you make it out to Acme to see him. A very funny gentleman, and thankfully, he's going to join us in studio in just a few minutes. Hang tight.
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS. Zep, Tony, and Steve Gorman are the KQ Morning Show. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. It's Friday, July 26th. Tonight and tomorrow night, 2 shows at Acme Comedy. The great Dean Delray. I saw Dean's set last night. It was fantastic. If you do not have tickets to see Dean, you really need to take advantage of his presence at Acme. As I said, 2 shows tonight, 2 shows tomorrow. And right now, Dean is in studio. Good morning, brother. It's early for you.
No, you know what? It's really not. It would be back my drug days.
Okay.
But,
well, sure.
Yeah.
Or it would be late in your drug days.
Yeah,
You'd just be winding down.
I'd be getting in, But
sober, how long? How long have you been clear-headed?
92.
32 years.
Yeah.
Nice job.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have guessed 32. I mean, it sounds like it's fresh still when I listen to your stand-up.
Hard-earned memories.
Yeah.
Well earned.
It's always in the back there. You know?
Sure.
It's creeping. My addictions just roll into other stuff now, It's just shopping, Instagram, and then sparkling water, which I just had to quit because I got silent reflux. I don't even know that was even a thing.
From sparkling water?
Yeah, so...
That's why I wake up in the middle of the night, because of all the La Croix that I'm drinking?
Yeah, see?
Damn it.
I quit cocaine, booze, sugar, and I'm going to die from sparkling water. That's absurd.
That is absurd.
But yeah, it's... I do everything on full speed, so sparkling water, these are good for me, 20 a day.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Just bubbles down there.
Okay, you just ran over one thing. We all know people who quit drugs, and we all know people who quit drinking, but you literally quit sugar. And we've talked about this. That has got to be, it's also damn near impossible.
Yeah.
How do you quit sugar? It's in everything.
Well, you
got to pay attention.
Well, here's what happens. First of all, I ate candy all day as a 55-year-old man at the just like, this is, okay, right? Gummy bears. But when you quit, the major ones I quit was white flour, any flour, any rice, white rice, and pasta. And those are the major ones you cut out, and once you do that, it just all of a sudden your weight just drops off. I dropped 40 pounds. People are like, AIDS for sure.
Yeah, right.
You know?
Yeah.
Like it's Philadelphia era.
Yeah, I follow you mentioned Instagram. You have a great Instagram account. It's just at Dean Delray, correct?
Yep, DELRAY.
And a few years ago, when I remember, I just looked at a photo and I was like, man, look, what is that, Dean? You know, it was like, wait a minute, what's going on? And I probably texted you like, dude, you okay?
Yeah.
You and me and everybody else. But your Instagram is great because it shows you doing what you do comedy. But you already mentioned it's a lot of everything. You have myriad interests, and as a guy who. You started off as a musician for years, Bay Area guy playing music, and now what's comedy now? 15 years?
14 and a half years.
14 and a half
exactly,
years.
Yeah.
And so a lot of travel and a lot of there's a lot of architecture. You're obsessed with houses.
Yeah.
You're obsessed with great cars. You got a lot of things. Fashion. You got a lot going on.
I love design.
Yeah.
I think because I was born and raised in Yosemite, and I never really realized that's where all my design addiction came from, because when I started going back as an adult, it's all mid-century buildings in there. If you look at the Ahwahnee Hotel, that's kind of what Kubrick planned the Shining Hotel off of. And it's all mid-century, and then, going from that and then living in San Francisco, you're just engulfed in like Frank Lloyd Wrights and Victorians like the Haight-Ashbury.
Sure.
And then you travel and you see these pockets of strip malls and those neighborhoods that all look the same, tract homes.
Yeah.
And you just go like, oh, this is all wrong.
Yeah, right.
And they would tear down classic mid-centuries to put in these tract homes.
Yep.
And then I started realizing, everything, Porsche 911, anything you're looking at, a great watch, a great jacket, it's all design.
Sure.
People take it for granted, but without it, we would just be a strip mall with the Domino's and Planet Fitness and just vomit.
You spent years. You just mentioned San Francisco. Anybody that's listening in this area knows, like specifically Summit Avenue in St. Paul's, all these Victorians, that era.
You showed me that.
And there are houses like that. The first time I went to San Francisco, I didn't know there's neighborhoods on steep hills, the steepest hills you've ever seen, with Victorian mansions, and I'm like, who the hell built this?
Yeah.
What were these people running from that they went up that hill? I'm staying here. Like, it was absolutely insane.
They were running from the fires and earthquakes. They're like, earthquakes don't hit hills, right?
Yeah, right. Well, so, but to your point, if you spend time there, you just can't help but be blown away by just visually walking around. You see so many fascinating things. So anyway, that's a long-winded pitch. Your Instagram's great. There's so much cool stuff on there. I've always said I'm not obsessed with visual stuff. Like I will see something, it won't even register, and then 2 days later it does. I'm like, where did I see that building? Like I have a whole lapse in my brain. So I really enjoy your feed because you're constantly showing stuff that I'm like, I see a photo of it, I'm like, I can appreciate it more than if it's in the room with me in a weird way.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's something I always dig about your checking out the stuff you're posting. Right before we started talking, Satisfaction, Rolling Stones, song's 59 years old, was just on. It still sounds, especially you put the headphones on, it's still just so fresh. Did you see the Stones this year by any chance? Did you get to them?
This is the first year I didn't go because I worked for them for 4 years. So I saw them over 100 and I think it was 41 times.
What years was that?
02 to 06.
What were you doing?
I was like their VIP host for the people that, each city you come into,
right.
Whoever the big wigs are.
Got it.
They'd have these pre-parties. And then the people that, the Stones kind of invented that travel package where you pay $2,500 or whatever, you get a front row, you get to go party in your own room and all that. So I was hosting that. It started out as 2 weeks and went into 4 years.
Probably not a bad gig.
It was one of the most incredible things in my entire life. I watched one of my top favorite bands every night, and then they always had smoking openers like the Yeah Yeah Yeahs or the Strokes.
Yeah, right.
Back then, whoever's hot, the Stones would have them on. And I went around the world 4 times, literally.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I also did not see this most recent tour for the first time, but every clip I saw,
Incredible.
and then I heard other people saying it. Mick, by the way, this is his today's his 81st.
Yeah.
81, and he sounds better than he ever has to my ears.
Yeah.
You're a singer.
Yeah.
You're not 81, but we're all chasing him. How in the world is that guy? How is it possible what he's doing?
I was saying, you got Biden, who was 80, the same age, and then you got Jagger. And it turns out, like, drugs probably weren't that bad.
Not that bad.
Yeah. Everybody has that uncle that might have did heroin for years and then stopped.
Yeah.
And they're perfectly, like it embalms them or
They're
something.
preserved.
Yeah. And they come over like 75 on a Harley. Hey, and you're like, shouldn't that guy be dead? But
something tells me 60 years as Mick Jagger ultimately is less stressful than 60 years trying to become president.
Oh my God. I couldn't even imagine. But I will tell you this. I toured with the Stones for 4 years. It's the most incredible touring ever. They got an acupuncture. They got a masseuse. Yeah. They've got a guy who's just a guru smoothie, veggie protein stuff. You go over, I don't feel well. Take this, mate. And you're like, oh, I feel great,
Yeah.
And then Jagger's got this full-on, like, Lou Gossett Jr. from Officer and a Gentleman, like, move.
Trainer.
Every morning he's in the stadium running.
That's great.
Yeah,
That's hilarious.
It's amazing.
Yeah, we did dates. The Crows did dates on Voodoo Lounge in Europe in '95.
Incredible
and the
tour.
first day we went backstage to the Voodoo Lounge area, when I saw the sushi chef next to the hibachi guy, next to the barbecue pit, I was like, oh, you guys are doing okay. Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Well, it's
I
incredible.
can order my own sushi backstage? Nice.
They
Fresh
have
fish just
different
in from Tokyo.
food,
Yeah, it's incredible.
They got like the truck drivers are like, hey, touching that junk over there. Then they got the vegan area.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Dean Delray's at Acme Comedy tonight. 2 shows, 7 and 8 and 9:30. Tomorrow night, the same 2 shows. You really need to get out and hang out with Dean. You have also a hugely successful podcast, Let There Be Talk, where I think initially it was pretty much just musicians. Is that right?
Yeah.
But it's certainly branched out. You've got a lot of different people from a lot of different worlds. How many episodes a week are you putting up these days?
I do one every Monday, so I'm at 761, and then I do one for my Patreon for the people, private one. So it's like 2 a week.
Okay, yeah. And so you've it's just grown and grown and grown, and you have, like I said, it's not just musicians, not just comedians. You get people from every walk of life on that thing, and you do talk a lot about these things. We're talking about different realms. One of the things that's, you and I were having this conversation last night. You were a musician for years and years, and then you transformed into a comedian seemingly overnight. But you have been pounding the boards. No matter where you go, you know the cool places. You're the guy that knows where to go in Des Moines or in Dubuque or in wherever. Like you've got that. You've just been doing this for so long in 2 different worlds. There's music and then comedy. But if you want to make it in either one, you're going to be on the road a lot.
Well, the first 20 years, I didn't see anything. Just a hotel room, blacked out curtains, and then on the bus or the van or the plane, whatever.
Yep.
Then after I stopped partying, I was like, hey, I've never been here. And they're like, yeah, you have like 3 times. I'm like, really?
Yeah. Yep.
So I just started hitting the streets in the morning and feeling the set. Especially as a comedian, you get out and you get a sense of the city, who the people are. Like, I love this city. Like, a lot of places you go, you're like, I'm out of here. But, like here, I hit the street yesterday. I walked around everywhere, the architecture, there's some great shops. And it took me a minute to get used to people being nice. It was wild. I was like, what is going on here? Like, hey, how are you? I was like, what? What do you want? I don't have anything,
Yeah.
And then I just started finding stuff to do, because if you don't, you will hate the road. And you will turn into a bitter, jaded comedian.
Well, when you stop drinking and drugging, it's amazing how long the day is.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, I went and did that, and now I have time to go do this. And so you gotta get proactive, or else, you're like in a hamster wheel otherwise.
Yeah, and it's been a blessing actually, because every city kind of has their hipster area.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, where's the barber shop, barbecue, coffee, and record store?
Yeah,
and that's going to be the good area, even if you're in like a red state. You know,
yeah, sure,
you're like,
of course,
you're like,
anywhere.
Stay on these 2 blocks.
Yeah.
Don't go off them, but this 2 blocks will feel like any hipster area in America.
That's it. So let me ask you this. 15 years coming up, 14 and a half years in comedy. So you were not a young man the first time you grab a microphone and get up at an open mic night or whatever. You were already in your 40s.
I was 44.
44 years old. You'd been on stage as a musician many times, but that had to have been, what's the word? Exhilarating, terrifying, everything?
I didn't know what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
I did a movie with Ice Cube, and by total luck, called The Long Shots, the football movie.
Okay.
And it was Keke Palmer. It's about the first girl ever to play Pop Warner football.
Okay.
And
you were in that movie?
Yeah, I was in that movie. And on the set, there was 3 comedians. There was Michael Collier, Garrett Morris from SNL, the first 4 seasons.
Yeah.
And then a guy named Earthquake. And so we're doing the movie for 2 months in Shreveport, and I was like, yeah, I've always wanted to do comedy. And they're like, oh, man, you're too old, dude. They're laughing and clowning me. They're clowning me like, this guy, man. But after about a month on the movie, Earthquake pulled me aside, and he goes, hey, man, you're really funny. You're riffing on the script. I think you can do comedy. Go try an open mic when you get back. That was December 6, 2009. I stepped on the patio of the Comedy Store, which is the mecca
in Los Angeles.
Yeah, the mecca of comedy in the world. And just got hazed and brutalized and stepped on stage. They're like, look at this old man. I was only 44.
Yeah.
Hollywood, that's 90.
Yeah, sure.
And so they're like, this old guy. But I started doing it. And the first year I did 298 shows. And now,
298.
Yeah, it hit me, and I was like, this is what I should have been doing my whole life.
Yeah.
And now here I am at almost 6,000 shows. I just did Madison Square Garden with Bill Burr. I did the Hollywood Bowl. I just did a full arena tour with Bill Burr.
Amazing.
I played all the venues I didn't make it as a musician.
Yeah.
LA Forum, Red Rocks, all of them.
Awesome.
It's been mind-boggling. So even if it ended tomorrow and I went back to selling Harleys, it'd just be like, oh, yeah, cool. Do
you still ride?
I've been riding a little bit lately. I got ran over.
No, I know. I mean, I didn't know if you'd ever gotten back on. You had a bad one.
Oh, man, some meth head hit me doing 70 on the highway by Dodger Stadium.
Yeah, that'll take the joy out of a ride.
Yeah, I don't recommend that. But last week, Bill and we've rode twice now. I taught Bill how to ride years ago, and then he had kids. He's like, I'm out. But then this year, Bill's like, wherever we're at, where it's wide open, no man's land, let's get bikes and ride. So the first one was the Rockies recently in Colorado. Nice. The CEO of Ducati just delivered these great bikes to us. And we just rode through the Rockies up to the Shining Hotel, where they did The Shining.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
Estes
I got goosebumps
Estes
right
Park.
now.
Yeah. Zepp rides. Have you been there, Estes Park, on a bike?
I have not been on a bike, no. And I've surprisingly done very little riding in the Rockies on a bike, which is, I feel like I need to apologize for, but definitely would love to spend some time out there. But, yeah, like you, the Metro now, it's a crapshoot when you go out on your bike. Someone's going to, it's only a matter of time till I'm, down. But so for me, it's about getting out and away and into the open areas and hammer down and enjoy the cruise.
One of my older brothers moved out to Colorado in the late 90s. And he got out there, and he looks younger now than he did when he moved, because he left Baltimore, stopped smoking, started skiing and hiking and living the good life. And about 10 years ago, he started riding, and he's retired, and he's just on his bike all summer, every summer, and he's up and down in the Rockies too. And anyway, from his view, it just looks like heaven on earth, especially when you're out there riding. So it's good to be out with Burr, and the guy from Ducati just shows up with some bikes for you.
Oh, man.
Well, here's the thing. I met the guy. I had him on the podcast when I was headlining in Denver.
Nice.
I go, hey, he came to my show randomly. He's like, I'm the CEO at Ducati. If you ever need anything, I was like, what? Absolutely. I need some bikes. I need you on the podcast.
Yeah, sure.
But he hooked it up. And then this week, my guy he worked with at Harley, I worked at Harley while I was starting comedy. He said, come on out to Santa Barbara. We got the brand new Harley Road Glides 2024.
Nice.
We'll ride through the Santa Barbara mountains,
Mm-hmm.
And that ride, if you listen to the current episode of Bill Burr's podcast today, Bill was texting me all night like, I'm ruined. I can't stop thinking about that bike. I need that motorcycle.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Like, it was exhilarating for him because he finally got to open up. He'd never rode a big bagger Harley.
Yeah.
I was just like, and I'm riding next to him. I'm 35 years on a bike. I got the tunes cranking.
Right.
Turn on the radio. He's like, no.
Yeah.
So we've been tearing it up, man. We had a great year and a half. It's just been a dream come true.
It's fantastic. Dean Delray's in studio with us. He is at Acme tonight, 2 shows, tomorrow night, 2 shows. You get a lot of rockers. I mean, it's a great cross. It's a perfect Venn diagram. Rock musician, comedian, and your podcast. I met a kid at the show last night who was immediately talking to me about your podcast, and I imagine your audience is not a lot of comedy fans, but it's a little different just because you have so many different people that probably are aware of you from Let There Be Talk. I mean, what I guess I'm getting at is you probably get a lot of rockers at your shows.
Well, here's an interesting thing. I started the podcast 12 and a half years ago, and I didn't want to interview comedians because Marin was doing that.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, well, I want to have my own spin, and this is early on in podcasting.
Yeah, sure.
I go, well, I was a musician, and I turned into a comedian. I'll interview all my musician friends that I toured with over the years, and at the end, I'll ask them if they ever wanted to be a comedian. That was kind of the spin on the show.
Yeah.
Now, looking back on it, it's been the most incredible 12 years. I mean, I'm the only guy that had AC/DC, the whole band, on a podcast.
I know,
I've never even done that. But also, it kind of backfired on me a little bit because rock people aren't necessarily comedy fans. So it didn't send people butts into the seats. They're like, yeah, I love that guy's podcast. But they don't, it didn't transfer into tickets. So I was like, well, but now it's starting to happen because I've really kind of done a lot of solo episodes where you hear my personality and riffing and my point of view on life, and then that's putting butts in the seats.
I found rock bands, I always say every band has at least one total sports geek.
Yep.
And every band's got one really funny guy. I mean, at least, like any band I've ever been around, as long as there's at least 4 people in the band, one of them's hilarious.
Oh yeah.
There's a huge, we talk about this. I talk about this a lot because I know a lot of comedians who play music, and not a lot of musicians that go into comedy, but every comedian's a weekend warrior with in the garage with the amp and the guitar.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You just mentioned Marin. Burr's a drummer.
Yeah.
And a million other guys we all know. Chris Porter is a player and writes songs. I mean, there's so
I think
much.
Fred Armisen plays.
Oh, absolutely plays everything.
Yeah, right. Those guys.
There's such a the brain that the brain that develops that creative comedy and music. There's just so much crossover that so many of the people do both. But a lot of rock musicians, on the same hand, aren't funny. There's a lot of you meet a lot of guys. You're like, man, that guy's an amazing player, and I'd rather go talk to the wall. You know, because it's like they're only expressing. I mean, no one ever said Eddie Van Halen was the greatest hang in the world. It all came out in the fingers. There wasn't a whole lot left. I think when you're playing music like that, there's a certain point where it's like there's nothing left. He's got nothing to say.
Well, I am like this weird super comedy nerd and music nerd, and also I have this kind of rules, my own rules. Like, I don't like joke rock at all.
Right.
I mean, at all.
Yeah.
So when I started, they're like, you should go up there with your guitar and sing funny songs. I was like, you should get out of my face. And vice versa. I don't like funny musicians. Like when you meet the guy and they're like, and you're like, oh, turn off. Like,
sure.
You know, like it's usually the drummer. They're like beating on stuff and they're always,
Yeah.
So I'm really that.
Hang on, where is this leading? Where are we going here? Where the hell is this going?
No, you know what I'm talking about.
No, I do know what you're talking about.
They play Shout at the Devil and stuff like that. But, it's funny because I did a 1-year tour with Jacob Dill and Wildflowers, and he's like my best friend for 30 years now. And he is hands down the funniest human I know. And in a Newhart, dry, fast way.
Yeah.
And I love that about him because it's insane. Even on text and photos.
Yeah.
Like we don't see each other maybe once or twice a year now.
Yeah.
But when, throughout the time, he'll just text. He texted me a photo recently. There was a guy walking down the street, like jet black hair, that full, like, Joe Strummer look. And he goes, New York, still making these guys.
Yeah, right.
Nice. You know what I mean? Like the guy's like 50, he's still rolling it.
And I say this sincerely, to his credit, nobody would know that about him.
Right,
I know. He
know.
keeps that to obviously in his personal life.
Yeah, he's amazing.
That's awesome. Dean Delray is at Acme. 2 shows tonight, 2 shows tomorrow night. Please go see this gentleman. You will thank me for that. Brother, anytime you're around, you know you got a seat in the studio. It's great to see you.
Oh, man, it was so great to see you last night. And also, I hope to put together the Bon Scott Bash again, 2025.
Oh, we were just talking about it before you came in. That's right.
You kill.
Nothing better than listening to this man sing Bon Scott. I can assure you that.
And thank you, Steve Gorman, for having me. I just love you, man. Great, great friend.
Appreciate it.
All right, every Friday needs some Woody wisdom, and we've got a commercial-free classic rock every weekday at noon on 92 KQRS.